Hello everybody, this is GeneralJannis, and today I'm looking at the Munitorum Field manual, the point updates, and especially for Chaos vehicles where we see some point increases in the popular Predator tanks that are existing for many of the Chaos Marine factions that are widely used. Now they have gone up in cost. Could we use some other alternatives? Are they still good at the damage output per point? So I will give you this math and the quick comparison in this video. So today, the 13th of March, we saw the balanced data slate coming out yesterday. So it also introduced a new detachment, for example, new detachment for Chaos Demons, and especially big changes for demons, especially Slanesh demons got nerfed, but Nurgle and so on have been updated. I will not look into that in this video. I'll probably make another video for that. We also saw some new detachments for our Orcs, Tau, and Custodes. But in this video, as I said, I will focus on the Munitorum Field manual, the point updates for EMpreros Children. As we expected, we saw a lot of changes for the codex points, and then the main focus of the video, the vehicle updated cost points for Chaos Space Marines, Death Guard, Thousand Suns, World Eaters, and Chaos Knights. We see some big Chaos Knights being reduced in price. Could they be viable? And I will give you the math update point corrected for the most popular Chaos vehicles. So starting off with the EMpreros Children, we see quite a lot of point updates, as a lot of units have gone down in cost, and I will make a quick update for already calculated for the Infractors, Tormentors, Noise Marines, and the Lords that they can accompany them. I've made those videos. I will make a brief video to update you on the point corrected costs. Now, for example, the big units of Infractors and Tormentors have gone considerably down in cost. My next video will I've been also working on the Flawless Blades and Lucius, and spoiler alert there, a combination of Flawless Blades and Lucius using the special ability of the Blades can really make a very high damage potential, but I will come back to that in another video. So for the main focus of this video, the vehicles updated the points for the Chaos Space Marines, Death Guard, Thousand Suns, World Eaters, and Chaos Knights. The Predator and Annihilators now are 135 points across the board. This is plus 5 points. So the last canon, let's say, anti-vehicle version of the Predator. So across for Chaos Space Marines up to World Eaters, we have the same point cost and Death Guard. And of course, unfortunately, EMpreros Children don't have access to the Predator Annihilators. And then the Predator Destructors, we have the Battle Cannon and more anti-infantry version, are now 140 points across the board. That's plus 10 points across all the factions. And again, EMpreros Children don't have access to the Predators. For Death Guard, we also saw a point decrease for Myphitic Blighthauler, previously 100 points, then 90 points, now 85 points. So Gamesworks are really pushing us to use more of the Myphitic Blighthauler. They fit quite well with a new detachment where they can give some cloaking and help for our infantry. So at 85 points, can they be finally doing enough damage for their point? And then for Chaos Space Marines, we saw the Forge Fiend, also another shooting vehicle type, monster type of unit, that has been decreasing to 180 points. For the World Eaters and Thousand Suns, it's less. They stayed at a lower point cost because they don't have the same ability as the Chaos Space Marine version. And for Thousand Suns, we also saw an increase for the Mutalith Vortex Beast, plus 5 points, and also the Vindicator went up 10 points. And then if we look at the Chaos Knights are very important for the Chaos factions because all these Chaos Marine factions can take either 3 War Dogs on one big knight. Basically, all the War Dogs stayed unchanged in points, so the Brigand, the most popular shooting version of a War Dog, is staying at 165 points. So how would that compare to the more, let's say, expensive Predators and the cheaper Myphitic Blighthauler, etc. But we saw importantly that some of the big knights have been decreased. We have the Knight Desecrator going down to 400 points. Also the Knight Despoiler is more configurable at 400 points. The Rampager stayed the same, and the big Knight Tyrant went down 30 points to 480 points. So it's below 500 points. You can put it even in strategic reserves, and you can ally a Knight Tyrant, and I will show you the data for all these big knights. Could they be how does their damage compare to the War Dogs? So here I'm starting with a table. This is the overall per point comparison per 100 points, where we start with the Predator Destructor and the Predator Annihilator. We are looking at the damage versus the typical infantry I'm simulating. Everything is point corrected to 100 points. And we have damage at 24 inch, 12 inch and melee. And we have it for infantry targets and vehicle targets. And we are also looking at the durability. The durability is an index, and versus heavy weaponry, I assume that the Predator Annihilator is the 100 is like the baseline durability. So you can see if the number is above 100, then it's more durable per point than a Predator Annihilator. And we see the damage, and then we see for versus infantry, the Predator Destructor still has very high damage per 100 points, even at 140 points, 5.2 wounds per 100 points on average. And we see the other units are not as close. For the versus vehicles at longer range, the Predator Annihilator with 3.4 wounds per 100 points is still the highest across the board. At 12 inch we see some competitors, and I will show you some graphs after this so you can see it more clearly, the effect. The Plague Burst Crawler at 180 points for Death Guard haven't changed the cost. It doesn't do so much damage per point as we have seen previously, but it has the indirect fire. And the Myphitic Blighthauler, you have to be careful with its numbers, because at 24 inch it cannot do the 2.9 wounds versus infantry. I painted them yellow. Basically I'm showing you here the damage at 18 inch and 9 inch that they can do with their Melta. So they really need to come to 9 inch to do some damage. But you see at 12 inch range versus vehicles, we're doing more damage than a Predator Annihilator from longer range, and the durability at 85 points per model is quite high. It's one of the highest for this versus heavy weaponry. I've added some other options here. You can see the Land Raider, not very high damage. The Chaos Marine Forge Fiend with 3 ectoplasma, not as high as the Predators. If you do the Ordnance, giving them devastating wounds and sustained hit pact, you get a bit more damage, but it's still not as good as Predator tanks. I compare also to the normal, let's say, Forge Fiend for Thousand Suns and World Eaters. And then if we go to the Mutalith Vortex Beast, it has been more expensive. Doesn't do so much damage, but it's very durable. And then we compare here with the Brigand, and also if we have the Wardog Brigand versus the closest enemy, it still has good damage output both for infantry and vehicles, and especially for vehicles. If it comes into 12 inch range, if it comes into Melta range, it can do some serious damage. Then looking at the big knights, the Knight Desecrator, here I'm just taking the claw version. It can do something in melee, and it can shoot vehicles. And here we can see the Knight Tyrant at 480 points. It does more damage with a Volcano Lance. It does more damage per point than the Desecrator, shooting vehicles. And then if we go to the Knight Despoiler, I took 3 configurations here. Twice the 2 times the thermal cannon. This is an anti-vehicle version, and you see 5.5 wounds at 12 inch range, where we have the Melta 6. So it's really strong. So here it's the highest damage output at shorter range per point for the Knight Despoiler. And if we go to a Knight Despoiler with 2 Gatling cannons, I've focused here on shooting, then we get high damage output versus infantry, but not as high as a Predator Destructor per point. And finally the Knight Despoiler with 2 battle cannons, it is more doing both high damage versus infantry and the vehicles. So after showing you the table with the data, I'll just show you a graph. So this is the point corrected damage versus the infantry. The blue bars are the 24 inch, orange bars are 12 inch, except for the Myphitic Blighthauler, where I'm just showing you 18 and 9 inches. And we see here the Predator Destructor, still the highest damage output, even if it's going up to 140 points. And the Knight Despoiler, the Gatling version, could also be interesting, and the Wardog Brigand is still quite good for its points, but you see the others are not as close to the Predator Destructor damage output. If we turn our attention to versus vehicle shooting, we have here the Predator Annihilator. At least at range, it has the highest damage output, But when we come to shorter range, the Myphitic Blighthauler at 9 inch can do more damage output. The Brigand also, especially versus the closest enemy, and at 12 inch also does higher damage. And here we see the 90 spoiler with a thermal cannon at 12 inches is the highest damage dealer. So quite interesting if you want to ally a big 90 spoiler. And the Night Tyrant is close by, but you see some of the other configurations not as strong versus vehicles. And for Death Guard, the Myphitic Blighthauler at 85 points. If you can bring it at 9 inches and shoot at vehicles, it does a lot of damage. But you need to be close, and maybe you will be, it will die afterwards. For EMpreros Children, I've seen this question a lot. What should we do when we don't have predators or anything like that? You can, and anti-vehicle shooting units, then the wardog Brigands as allies, or if you want to add a 90 spoiler, I think that's the best option for the EMpreros Children. Finally, the graph for durability, point corrected. The Predator, as I said, index 100. And then we see for Death Guard more durable vehicles, especially now the Myphitic Blighthauler versus heavy weaponry at 85 points is very good. And here you see the others. The Big Knights, not as durable per 100 points, but they are still durable as a big model. But of course, you get more bang. Let's say you get more staying power for your points with a Myphitic Blighthauler or a Predator or a Mutalith Vortex Beast. So reaching to the summary and final thoughts, the Predator tanks, even at the higher point cost, offer still a very high damage output per point, both versus the infantry, basically the Destructor version, and versus vehicle targets, the Annihilator variation. The Myphitic Blighthaulers at 25 points are more interesting now. A lot of they have high point corrected damage versus vehicles, but they need the biggest shortcoming, I think, is the 18-inch range for the Melta, and we need to be at 9-inch to do anything particular. They also show high durability per point and fit nicely in with a new detachment to give better protection for the infantry. The wardog Brigand stayed unchanged at 165 points and offers very good damage at both infantry and vehicle shooting. And it can be allied with every Chaos Marines factions, and especially important, I think, for EMpreros Children to cover up this spot which is missing in the codex. And the 90 spoiler at 400 points can be configured as you want. If you want to have more balance shooting or more versus vehicles, then you take the thermal cannons, or more versus infantry, you get the Gatling cannons. But I think if you want to ally some Chaos Knights, I think you get more utility from 2 to 3 Brigands. They can be in more places, they can have higher objective control, let's say, faster, and the 90 spoiler, of course, will be a big target and will get shot a lot. So this concludes the video. Let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoyed this analysis. And as always, I really appreciate everybody for your comments and for liking and subscribing the channel. So please, help the channel grow. And with these words, GeneralJannis is signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye bye.